crafty friends, it's Marie from Marie's Vermont Creations, bringing you today this Gatwell card. It's featuring Vellum and the Irresistibly Yours designer series paper that was an option during Celebration, which unfortunately has ended, so hopefully you had a chance to get that, but I'll also go over some other options if you were not able to. So let me show you how I made this card. So the card base is 8 inches by 4 inches, scored at 4 inches, so it's going to be a 4 by 4 card. So you would have to do an envelope for that to make one. And then what I did is took a piece of the Irresistibly Yours. When you first get it, if you haven't seen it before, it looks like this. It's actually white with the embossing on it already. It comes in stars and flowers and leaves and stripes and this scallop pattern. So what I did is I took my Soft Sky ink pad and dragged it across the paper to give it this look. I featured that in a previous video, so if you wanted to actually see me do that, I will link to the video in the description below. So this is 3 3/4 by 3 3/4, and again the color is Soft Sky. So then I took a 3 3/4 and 3 3/4 piece of vellum, and I've stamped it with the Bloom with Hope, which is a hostess stamp set, and I've used this flower and this one here. I stamped those in Stays on Black ink, and then I flipped it over and colored on the back with the Stampin' Write markers. So I did that ahead of time because it needs to dry for a few minutes, and I didn't figure you'd want to watch me color. So I used the Regals collection because that happens to be the stamp set, or the Stampin' Write markers that I have. But you can use any color combination that you like, or any flower stamp set, or any image that you would like to do. So then what I'm going to do is take some mini glue dots and adhere them to the 4 corners to adhere this to this piece of Irresistibly Yours cardstock. Now if you didn't want to do a border on this, my recommendation would be to put some adhesive on the back behind these flowers, because with the vellum, unfortunately, it will show through your adhesive if you don't hide it in a stamped image. But in the corners I'm going to cover it with a frame, so we're going to not have that showing anyway. So I'm just going to put them in the top corners. So again, with glue dots, I would make sure that you're keeping them covered, because when you go to store them, they're going to be a mess if they're uncovered, because they will stick to everything. So just make sure to leave a little tail so that you keep them covered up. So now with all my glue dots on, I'm going to try to line this up. So then I've taken the square framelits and a piece of crumb cake paper and cut out this little frame, and I did that with using the Big Shot and using the 2nd and 3rd largest square framelits. So you just run those together, line them up in the Big Shot, and it gives you this frame. So what I'm going to do is adhere that with liquid glue, because sometimes I need a little wiggle room to make sure that I get that place correctly. Alright, so then you have this nice little frame. So then you take your card base and I adhered that with dimensionals to the front of my card base to pop it up a little bit. So I'm going to do 1 in each corner. And then 1 in the middle. Take the backs off of those. And line that up. And then the sentiment is going to be out of the A Dozen Thoughts stamp set. And I'm going to stamp the Better Get Better in Early Espresso ink. I've pre-cut this, so hopefully I can line it up. because it's a wood stamp, and I do better with the clear stamps, but let's see how it goes. Well, I don't love it. Let's try a different scrap. It's a little bit wider. There. So then I'm just going to take my scissors and just make this a little banner. So I'm just going to trim off the end, cut to the center, and then meet those in the middle. Some people like to use the square stamp or square punch to make their little flags. And then I'm just going to adhere that with some adhesive to the front of the card right here in the corner. And you have a quick get well stamp that would be, or get well card that would be good for any images you have on the vellum. Now, if you didn't have the Irresistibly Yours paper, you weren't able to get it for Celebration while it was available, you could also take any designer series paper that isn't overpowering. You'd want something a little lighter in a shade, I would think. You could cut that and use that as a background just to show through the vellum to give it a little more interest and texture. I hope you liked today's project. Please feel free to visit my website at mariesvermontcreations.com. Hope you have a great day.